In this video, we're going to look at the top 5 most common questions that are asked in data entry interviews, and I'm going to help you plan fantastic answers that will land you a data entry job. So the first question that's very likely to come up is, can you tell me about your typing proficiency? And you want to have evidence. You want to assure them that you can enter data quickly and efficiently. So you want to show 80 words per minute as a minimum. That's a very fast typing rate, but for a data entry job, you have to be very quick. You want to also show that you're very accurate and bring some proof. So you want to do a typing test and show that you're quick and you're accurate. Otherwise, you're going to struggle in the job. And if you bring that proof and that evidence, it really reassures your employer that you're able to do the job effectively. Second question, what software are you comfortable in using? And you want to show as much diversity as you can, but again, you have to back it up. So if you say something that's not true and you end up getting a job that uses lots and lots of Excel and you're not good at Excel, it's going to come and backfire and you may even lose your job over it. So make sure you're answering this truthfully. So Excel, if you can learn some basic programming skills, that's really helpful. So you can put in formulas, you can manipulate data in a basic level, that's really helpful. And if you detail experience, you talk about how you've used Excel in the past, that's really good. Word, you want to show, obviously anyone can type in Word, so talk about being able to do formatting, and mail merge can be quite a useful function. So I'd recommend you learn it so you can mention it in your interview. And an optional extra that can boost your chances of getting the job with certain companies is if you can do HTML or PHP, which are very common markup languages that are used a lot. So if you can mention those, they help, but they're not relevant for a lot of jobs. Third question, how do you ensure accuracy in your work? And there's a few things to mention. So the first thing is you're going to check the source data. So before you spend hours and hours and hours entering data, you have to check that you're entering the right data and there's no obvious major flaws with the data that you've been given. Because if you enter inaccurate data, you're wasting everyone's time. So you always check for that. If you can show evidence of previous accuracy, so again, refer to any typing tests that you've done that show that you're able to enter data very effectively. And then you can talk about how you look back on your work, you sample it to see, and that you've got an awareness of various checking routines that you can do. For example, if you're entering a postcode, you would have an expectation that it would be a certain length and that you would expect to see a space between it. Or a zip code will have certain rules associated with it that you're going to follow, and you can quickly check large amounts of entered data for errors. The fourth question, so let's imagine you've been given more data than you could possibly input. For example, you're given 1.9 million addresses to enter in 3 days. What are you going to do? And so a good answer would be, you're going to start by creating an estimate to say, based on my typing speed and based on my past data entry work, this is what I can deliver within the time. You want to communicate that to the stakeholders. There may be people in the organization that are relying on that data being fully entered by the deadline. And if it is mathematically impossible to do, you have to make sure that they know that. However, you're going to deliver the work at the earliest possible time. So you're going to work sensibly to think, what is the most reasonable time that I can get this done? And also emphasize that you work very hard, that you're going to get it done at the earliest possible time, but you're going to make sure that people are aware of what that looks like. A bad answer would be that you've not went on about the importance of communication, that you've said, I'm going to take it all home and do it at home, which sounds very good, but it can actually get you marked down because that's not particularly reasonable, and you're also not being paid for doing that, so there's minimum wage implications to that. But the absolute worst thing you can say is refuse the job, that you can't do it, that's ridiculous. So you want to talk lots about communication and that you're going to do the estimation and you're going to do your best to deliver it as soon as you can, having communicated to everyone when that reasonable time frame is, because there is a certain speed that is the maximum that you can enter, and that's just a reality of the job. And the last question, how do you feel about handling confidential information? And you can lose the job if you answer this badly, so you have to be very careful. So the first thing you have to absolutely stress is that at all times you maintain confidentiality, that you don't disclose to anyone any confidential information that you come into contact with. You're then going to mention that you always follow the company's data protection procedures, and that when you start, you would look to gain an awareness of what the company's data protection procedures are. A fantastic thing to mention if you're in the UK or Europe would be General Data Protection Regulations, or GDPR. And so you're going to know exactly who you have to speak to if the security of the data is compromised, and you're also going to be sure that that data is always stored securely and it's never left out and it never leaves your site. So you're going to protect the data both when you've entered it and when it is in its original form. The last thing you can do, and you have to be extremely careful when you do it, is you can detail previous experience. So you can say that you have experience in your previous job working with confidential information, and you could perhaps say that it was medical information, but you can't really go into any specifics. You have to be extremely careful not to divulge anything vaguely confidential, otherwise you'll immediately lose the position. So hopefully these 5 interview questions you feel well prepared for. And finally, best of luck on your interview for data entry, and thank you very much for watching.